Hartle, a program assistant at CCEI. Today, we are joined by Meghan Diamond, a University of Connecticut graduate student, a recent CCEI program participant, as well as a business consultant. Meghan will be walking you through her story thus far, navigating the professional world. Meghan, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Michaela. So I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. Sorry, I have to go into my system preferences. Usually I have sharing capabilities, but for whatever reason, I have to go and allow it again. All right. Okay. So I'm just like right off the bat, I'm like a pretty informal person. So at any point in time in any of this, like feel free to stop me, ask questions, comments, like whatever. And so the title that I came up for this presentation or topic, because I really wanted it to be kind of all encompassing, was what it's like being a young woman navigating the professional world. And so I have a couple slides prepared. I'll start off. I'm just going to be talking a little bit about myself, both my professional background and my personal background, because they're pretty interrelated. And then I'm going to talk about my newest professional career choice, which includes starting my own consulting company. And then from there, I have left some time at the end for questions. And then I also have just kind of some starter topics for you guys if you're like struggling to think of questions. And even if you guys don't have any questions, I will just delve into talking into some of those topics myself. So to start off, my name is Meghan Diamond. I'm 24 years old. I'm a Connecticut native. I attended UConn for undergrad. I graduated in the year 2020. And when I went to UConn, I received my degree in marketing. And then I also did a concentration in data analytics. And then kind of before I even started college, I had this notion in the back of my mind that I wanted to go to law school, but I wasn't entirely sure that I wanted to make such a commitment when I was 17 years old. So I decided that I should probably find a pretty at least tangible degree to pursue in the meantime if I ended up not wanting to do law school. So my brother convinced me to go with a business degree, and I ended up loving it. I settled on marketing and really fell in love with data analytics. That's where I found to be my strong suit. But then kind of junior year rolled around, and that's the time when if you want to pursue law school after college, you have to start thinking about taking the LSAT, and it was still something that I wanted to do. So at that point in time, I decided to pursue the JD MBA program that UConn offered, which if you guys have questions about that, I totally would love to answer any and all of your questions, because there's really not a lot of information about it online. So you have to kind of seek this information either from like word of mouth or people that you know in the program, which is what I had to do. So now currently I just started my second year of law school, and that was after completing my 1L. And then I did a year at the Hartford Business School for my MBA last year. So I have 2 more years left, and then both of them are majority law school. And so now delving into kind of a little bit about my personal background, I grew up as a ski racer, and I started ski racing when I was 1, but then I started skiing when I was 1, and then I started racing at 4. And then I also was a dancer too. That was what I did up until I started college. And then in college, I was the captain of the UConn women's ski team. And then after graduating in 2020, I had what a lot of college athletes sympathize with is like post-collegiate sports career depression, where you're kind of like struggling to find what to do with yourself because you had dedicated so much of your life to sport, and now you're kind of just you're going to the gym, but not really with the purposes that you had been doing your whole life previously. So I felt a little lost. And this was right at the time that I had started law school. And I found myself really needing a competitive outlet. And so I started doing MMA, and that's what I currently do. So now I'm a professional grappler, and I train in boxing, MMA, jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai. So that's how I spend my early mornings and my late nights is training in MMA. And then during the day is more of my my legal business career. And so this kind of leads me into my next topic that I really wanted to cover. And a big thing for me, at least ever since I started college, has been finding a balance. And I found this quote, and it's from this guy named Richie Norton, and he was actually previously a rugby player, but then he went on to do a bunch of TED Talks and he became an author. And this quote, I think, sums up the way I think about my work-life balance. And it starts off by saying, forget the work-life balance. Do the thing you want and create systems to support that. Perfectly imbalanced in the direction you want to go is perfectly acceptable. And with all of the things that I had going on, whether it was sports, skiing, MMA, dancing, I always had jobs throughout college too. So whether it was like working a job on the side, I knew that there was no way I would be able to do 100% for every single thing I was doing. And that was fine, because if it was just like a bartending job, I didn't need to treat it as if it was like a do or die situation. You know, if I like messed up when I was bartending, it's fine. This is just kind of like a side job. It's a stepping stone. If I make mistakes along the way, everything is going to be okay. And that's currently what I try to implement a lot these days. Now that kind of the jobs that I'm doing are no longer just bartending. There's kind of more repercussions involved. You have to be okay with learning and growing, accepting that you don't know it all, knowing that you're going to mess up, but then also owning your mistakes. And a big thing too that I used as a reality check when I specifically started my MBA was I'm at the point in time in my life where I am my biggest priority. I look at my colleagues and they look at me and they say, I don't understand how you're doing all the things you're doing. I don't understand how you're able to train all the time, be a professional athlete, have your own company, and then also work and attend school. And I look at them and I say, you're a mom and you have 2 children. I don't know how you're able to attend school and like have a family and be a wife and be a mom. So to me, I don't have those types of responsibilities. So I have the time and bandwidth to really pour all of my energy into myself and the things that I'm doing. So, you know, someday I want to become a mom, and until that day, I know that I have to take advantage of this time right now and kind of build the life that I want for that time in the future. And so this is something that I'd also, if you have any questions about, I'd love to answer. But just to make sure that I have some time at the end for questions, I want to also talk to you about kind of what it has been like starting my own company. And that's where I saw a lot of help from CCEI. So when I first started in the MBA program, it was brought to my attention that there was an opportunity to start your own consulting company. And very honestly, this was something that I had never considered, but it made sense at the time because it married all of the things that I loved. I was able to marry this marketing degree that I had spent 4 years on. And then I was also able to kind of utilize this legal career that I'm pursuing. And so because of that, and with the help of CCEI, I started a company, and it's called Athletes First Consulting. And what Athletes First Consulting is it provides female athletes with the services that they need to capitalize on their name, image, and likeness. And a big reason for me sparking this company was growing up in consistently very male dominated areas. I grew up with 2 older brothers. I was always competing against them, and I was always training with them. I was always around their friends. Even ski racing was a very male dominated sport. The sport that I do right now is incredibly male dominated. More often than not, I'm either the only female in the room, or there's 2 of us in a room of 30 to 40 guys. And I saw the talent that other women had, and I felt as though it was time for them to be able to step into their spotlight. And they had the skills that they needed to be amazing athletes, but they lacked some of the knowledge to advocate for themselves, whether that be from a marketing standpoint in branding themselves, or a legal standpoint in doing some of their contract review. So I believe the next slide discusses some of the services. So the 3 services that the company offers for female athletes is helping them with professional branding, helping them with their media coaching, and then legal support. So this is kind of the 3 core offerings of Athletes First Consulting. So all of it, again, kind of ties in some of my educational experience, which at the time I never foresaw leading to this company today. But I knew all of the things that I were learning were going to be really valuable regardless of whatever path I was going to pursue. And it's kind of all come together very nicely in the culmination that is this current company. And I was able to, so before we get to questions, I was able to present with CCEI just the other day. And then I'm also going to be presenting in a couple months at another pitch. And yeah, it's been a ride, I would say, but with the help of CCEI and CTSBDC, I've been able to learn a lot of things that you don't learn in school. Like I was able to get a lot out of my marketing degree and of course law school so far, but they don't teach you things like how to set up an LLC, how do taxes work for an LLC, what is the best way to handle your business? Is it through QuickBooks? So that's another thing where that's information that you won't necessarily learn from your formal education, but that's something that you need to seek out, whether it's through resources such as CCEI or the CTSBDC. So that's been my biggest learning curve over the past, I would say 6 months, is just filling in the gaps, which I'm still continuing to fill in just those things where it's real life. It's not like you're given a hypothetical case and you have to apply the lecture notes that you learned on Wednesday. This is stuff where it's real, but there's people that are out there and it's their job to help you. And that's something too that I don't think I realized, especially after graduating from college. I sort of just thought you're on your own from there. And you kind of are like left alone into your own devices to figure things out. But if you find the right people in the right environments, there's always people that are willing to help and are willing to help you get where you need to be and share the information. And so that's what I would really like to do through my company currently, is just be support and help for people that maybe don't even know that they need these services, but it's something that would be really beneficial to them and help them with their own careers. And so I came up with some topics for any questions that you guys have. I know we have till about 3:30, so there's about 10 minutes if you guys have any questions, or if you have no questions, I can continue rambling about some topics. And if you have a question, you guys can just unmute too. You don't need to like raise your hand or anything like that.
Megan, I think one of the things I'm most interested to hear about is something that you would do differently.
Yeah, for sure. I would say something that I would do differently is have less expectations. Uh, I'm the type of person where I'm very risk averse and I hate uncertainty. So I found myself literally at age 18, like when I was first starting out in college, just consistently stressing myself out over stuff that either wasn't in my control at the time, or I just needed to wait and see how it played out. Like, for example, one of the most stressful instances of my life was my financial accounting class, like my freshman year of college. And I would do what I needed to do. I would say, okay, I have an exam coming up. What do I need to do to be successful? I need to study. I need to go over the notes. I need to go to office hours. And I would be doing everything in my power to do well on it, but I would still be so stressed out over just the uncertainty of like, am I going to get a B? Am I going to get an A? How are my friends going to do? Are they going to do better than me? And I just needed to kind of chill. I just needed to chill out for a minute and trust that I was doing what I needed to do to set myself up for success. But instead, I wasted a lot of energy and time just worrying and fixating on things that I just needed to let them happen. So I would say I still definitely do that today, but I'm trying to practice kind of being just more let things come. If I'm doing the work, things will work out. Nothing is going to like burn down at the end of the day today. As long as I'm doing my part on my end, things will be fine. And I'm still like telling myself that now. It's almost like you have to tell yourself things are going to be fine so many times until you start believing it. So yeah, I would say that was definitely something that I would do differently.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And feel free to, if anyone wants to ask a question, but you don't necessarily want to unmute, you can also send a question in the chat or absolutely unmute, whichever you prefer.
And because we have some undergrads, I will say, one of the things in just like speaking a little bit about undergrad, because it's the fall time and I see everyone like moving back into UConn, so it makes you kind of like reflect and think about your time at undergrad more. In undergrad, find the stuff that you like and take the classes that interest you. That was something that I wish I did more of, because I didn't realize that I had such an interest in data analytics until it was like my senior year. So my senior year, especially my last semester of my senior year, I was taking my favorite classes because I had finally narrowed in on what I liked and decided to take those classes. So if you're lucky and you kind of figure it out early, like what type of classes you like to take, start taking more of those, because you're only going to help yourself, because you're either going to give yourself like a leg up by taking classes maybe other people haven't been able to take, or you may find out through taking classes that maybe you don't like this area, and then you still have that information, but you can move on and kind of go to the next thing of whatever it is you decide that you like. So that's what I would say about undergrad, is find the classes that you like. And then also, if you can, kind of take classes where you know that you'll need them, but know you might not like. For example, I hate Excel. I have a vendetta against Excel and they have a vendetta against me, but I knew I needed to take like OPIM classes so that I would at least be comfortable using it. So that would be my recommendation for you undergrads, is find the stuff you like and then just take classes in those subjects.
Hey, Megan, it's Rory. I'll throw a question out here. I'm
Sure.
curious about when folks come through our CCEI programs, we don't just develop businesses, but we like to think we help develop people. So I'm curious, as you've gone through this journey, how it has potentially influenced the way in which you see the world, or more specifically, how it's maybe changing your upcoming year in law school, or how it's going to change the way that you go about your business with the MBA. Like, I'm curious, now that you are able to describe yourself as an entrepreneur, as a founder, as a female founder, like how does that change the way that you feel and think and like go about your business on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, for sure. I think that before I started the program with CCEI, something that I was doing to myself and to other people was like putting them in boxes. So for me, I was putting myself in a box like, yeah, I was doing the dual degree program, but law school was taking up a lot of my time. So that's what I was. I was only a law student. And that's how I would define myself. And that's only how I was looking at myself. And then when I started the MBA program, even with the dual degree students, you know, there were MD MBAs and like a few other students in dual degree programs. And I would look at them and I would say, oh, you're a doctor, you're an engineer. Those are kind of like, I never saw them as multidimensional, and I never saw myself as multidimensional. And after starting this program, it made me realize that people, including myself, have such an array of experiences and talents that can be tapped into in ways that go far beyond just what one of their titles are. And so for myself, it might have been kind of just being narrow-minded, just putting myself in one box and never seeing myself becoming an entrepreneur, or becoming someone to start my own company. And that might have been because I was putting myself in the box, or I didn't think I was capable of it because I didn't know the tools that were necessary. I didn't have any background in it. So I didn't think it was something that I was even capable of in the first place. And through CCEI, you know, you're able to go through that process and you're able to prove to yourself that you're more than maybe just what your degrees are, or just what your background is, or just what your job is. And it's really cool it's been cool to see myself go through that journey, but then also hearing about other people's journeys with it too. For instance, like some of the different businesses that CCEI partners with are so cool. And I'm like, I just never thought of it. Like who would possibly think about like even Joe's business, like advising food trucks. Like who would have even thought that that's like a business that you could start? So I think my biggest takeaway and biggest change I've noticed in myself and the way I perceive other people is just really not putting them in a box, not putting myself in a box, and not putting other people in a box, through my experience with CCEI.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And I think that, Michaela, that those are great words for us to quote and use from Meghan, because that's probably the most important lesson and thing that we learn all the time. And so it's been fun to work with you on this journey, Meghan, because we've been kind of very open-minded about where this can go. And I would just add to folks that are listening or going to watch this, that the original idea that Meghan had isn't what we're seeing today. It's constantly evolving based on feedback and input. So I think maintaining that open-minded spirit and stepping outside of the box is just so important.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Well, we have 2 minutes left, but if there are no other questions, I'm fine with giving everyone a couple minutes back of their day.
Well, thank you so much, Meghan. We appreciate all the time you took to give your insights today. And if anyone is looking to share this with your peers or coworkers, you will be able to find this on the CCEI Timely Topics page soon. We have all of our Timely Topics recordings linked there. So before we conclude today's talk, I just want to mention our upcoming Timely Topics event. Meghan, if you could switch to the next slide, please.
Yep.
Thank you. So we will actually have our other business consulting participant coming in September 15th, Joseph Sklenar. His topic is inflection point, leveraging experiences to cultivate a new business. So if you're interested, please click on the link and you can sign up for that Timely Topics. But until next time, have a great day and good luck with this semester, Meghan.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.